All right, so this is going to be a deep dive into something I think is super relevant to you and your YouTube channel.
Mm.
You know how you were asking about aging and what that looks like for programmers? Well, I think a lot of us in tech think about that, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I've been wondering about it myself lately, and
Yep.
it's like this unspoken thing, but it's definitely there. So we're going to look at a talk by Kate Gregory. It's called The Aging Programmer, and it's from NDC TechTown 2024.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
And the cool thing is, she really emphasizes that it's not just for, like, older programmers.
Right.
Like, even if you're just starting out in your career, there's a ton of great stuff in there for literally anyone who codes.
It's like she gets right to the heart of it,
Mhm.
you know? This big question we all have, can you actually be a programmer your whole life?
Yeah, it's real.
And I think that's something so many of us wonder about no matter what stage of our career we're in.
Totally.
And she doesn't shy away from the fact that it's not always possible.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone who starts out coding gets to keep doing it forever. Some people move into management or they leave the field entirely.
And some people, unfortunately, get kind of forced out of the game before they're ready.
Exactly, and that's the tough part. But what I appreciate is that Gregory actually gives you ways to increase your odds, like things you can do to stay in the game for as long as you want to.
Right, and that's what we're going to explore. Now, one thing that totally surprised me, she mentioned this survey of programmers, and the biggest concern wasn't carpal tunnel.
Oh, really?
It was eyesight. And I was like, what?
I would have guessed wrists too, for sure.
Right.
But it makes sense when you think about it. Like, how much time do we spend looking at screens?
All day.
So regular eye checkups are crucial. And Gregory even suggests different glasses for different tasks, like driving, reading, and, of course, coding.
Oh, and she tells this funny story about her granddaughter. She thinks glasses give you superpowers.
Oh, that's cute.
But it highlights a serious point, right? Like, good vision is so important for us, and the right correction can make a huge difference.
For sure, even those headaches you get could be from your eyes.
Totally. And speaking of things we might not want to hear, Gregory kind of admits, maybe a little reluctantly, that exercise is really key to staying healthy as we age.
Oh, the dreaded exercise word.
I know, right? I felt that. But she breaks down how different types of exercise are important, like strength, stamina, flexibility.
And you know how those all connect to being able to keep doing your job well?
Oh, yeah, like being able to move around the office or lift heavy equipment,
Yeah.
even just sitting comfortably for hours without pain.
All of that.
You know what really stuck with me, though? Stronger people actually have stronger immune systems.
It's true, and that means fewer sick days, more time for coding.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that you don't have to become a marathon runner. Like, even small amounts of exercise consistently can make a big difference.
Absolutely. The key is finding something you enjoy and something you can stick with long term. This is all about having a long and happy coding career. Okay, so we've talked about some of the bigger picture stuff about aging, but let's get into some actual tactics. Things that you can use as a programmer and things you can even share with your YouTube audience. Because Gregory really stresses this idea of being proactive, not just reacting to aging, but getting ahead of it.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
So what would that actually look like, for someone who's already got a busy coding schedule?
Well, one thing she emphasizes is building strong mental habits. And it's interesting because she actually connects it to physical routines. Like, she uses this analogy of muscle memory. But not just for our bodies, for our minds too.
Okay, I'm curious. How does that apply to coding?
Well, think about how you tackle a complex problem. You break it down into smaller steps, right?
Yeah, of course.
She's saying that creating mental routines can be super helpful, especially as we get older, almost like checklists for your thought process.
So instead of trying to hold all this information in your head at once,
As it was.
which I got to say gets harder for me the more I code, you're like creating these mental shortcuts?
Yeah. Exactly. It's about reducing cognitive overload. When your brain is just trying to process way too much information at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling. Some days it's like my brain is running on dial-up. So routines can help with that.
They can, for sure. Gregory suggests things like setting up a consistent coding environment, always starting with a clear outline before you dive into the code, using tools like version control to keep track of your progress and avoid mistakes.
That's all really practical advice. It's like building scaffolding for your thinking. And that's valuable for anyone, not just older programmers.
Absolutely. It's about leveling up your coding skills at any age.
Okay, but let's be real. There's this anxiety around age and cognitive decline, especially in a field where you have to constantly learn new things.
Yeah, that's a big one. But Gregory addresses that head on. She makes it clear that dementia is not inevitable. In fact, she cites statistics showing that even at age 90, 2 out of 3 people don't have dementia.
Oh, wow, that's good to hear. But what about like everyday forgetfulness? I swear I forget way more things now than I did in my 20s.
Yeah, I get that. Well, remember those mental routines we were talking about? They can help with that too. But Gregory also really emphasizes continuing to learn throughout your life, especially as a programmer.
That seems kind of counterintuitive, though. Wouldn't learning new things just add to the cognitive overload?
Actually, it's the opposite. Think of it like this. If you only ever drive on familiar roads, your mental map stays pretty limited. But if you venture out, explore new routes, you're expanding your map. And that makes it easier to navigate in general.
So learning new things is like building new pathways in your brain.
Exactly, and those pathways keep your brain sharp and adaptable.
Okay, I could see that. So what kind of learning is she talking about?
It doesn't have to be like the newest programming language or framework. It could be anything that sparks your curiosity, like
Ah,
painting or learning a new spoken language, or even going deeper into a specific area of programming that you love.
it's about keeping your mind engaged and curious. I bet that would really shine through in your YouTube videos too. People love to see that kind of passion.
You're right. And speaking of things that might be good for your YouTube content, Gregory has some interesting thoughts about how we learn as we age.
Well, tell me more.
For example, she talks about how she listens to conference talks at a faster speed now. Not to like show off or anything, but she finds that it helps her focus more intensely on the material.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like she's hacking her own learning process.
Exactly, and she encourages us all to find what works best for us. Be open to new ways of learning and absorbing information.
I love that. It's great advice, especially for people who feel overwhelmed by how much information is out there.
And if you're dealing with forgetfulness, she suggests things like routines for certain tasks, checklists to keep track of important steps, breaking down big projects into smaller chunks.
That's good advice for anyone, really.
Yeah.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And she also stresses the importance of asking for help when you need it, whether that's talking to a therapist, joining a support group, even just reaching out to friends and family.
Yeah, that's so important. It's easy to feel isolated, especially in a field like programming. But connecting with others is crucial for our well-being.
Absolutely, and those connections can be a lifeline, especially as you navigate the challenges of aging in a demanding field like this one.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in all the worries about aging and stuff, but I'm really liking this shift in perspective. Like we've talked about how to stay sharp and adaptable. But what about the strengths that older programmers bring to the table? Yeah, I feel like that gets overlooked sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we've been focusing on how to stay in the game, but now let's talk about how to win it. And that's where experience really becomes a superpower, especially in a field as complex and constantly changing as programming.
Okay, so how does that actually play out? What are some ways that experience gives older programmers an edge?
Well, for one, they've seen it all. They've witnessed technology cycles come and go, trends, languages, frameworks. That historical perspective gives them this incredible ability to see the bigger picture and anticipate potential pitfalls that younger programmers might miss.
It's like they know which shiny new thing is worth investing in
Yeah,
and which ones are just hype.
exactly. And beyond just recognizing trends, that experience translates into a deeper understanding of software development principles, best practices. They've learned from their own mistakes, and probably from the mistakes of others too.
I bet they have some stories.
Oh, I'm sure they do. And those stories are valuable lessons. They've honed their problem-solving skills over decades, developed a kind of intuition about where to look for solutions, how to approach tough challenges.
That's something I'm always working on. Seeing those patterns and connections that others might miss.
It comes with time and practice. And it's something older programmers can really excel at. But it's not just technical skills. They've also had years to develop those essential soft skills. You know, the ones that are crucial for success in any field, especially one like programming that relies so much on collaboration.
Like communication, teamwork, mentorship.
Exactly. They've had years to refine these skills. Working on teams, leading projects, mentoring junior developers. They know how to communicate effectively with both technical and non-technical people, how to build consensus, navigate conflict, create a positive work environment.
That's so important, especially now with remote work and distributed teams becoming more common.
Absolutely. And this leads to another huge advantage that older programmers offer: mentorship. They're in this unique position to guide and support younger developers, sharing their insights, lessons learned, helping them navigate the ups and downs of the tech industry.
It's like having a seasoned captain on board, someone who's already weathered the storms.
Exactly. And that kind of mentorship is so beneficial for everyone involved. Younger programmers get invaluable knowledge and guidance, and older programmers get to give back and make a real impact on the field.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It really is.
This all makes me think about that saying, with age comes wisdom. It sounds cliche, but it's true in this context.
It is, and Gregory points out that this wisdom often leads to a different kind of confidence. It's not arrogance or ego. It's a quiet self-assurance that comes from knowing your worth and your capabilities. They've earned their stripes. They're less likely to be swayed by trends or feel the need to prove themselves.
They've already proven themselves, they've built a career, they've contributed to the field, they know what they're capable of.
Exactly. And that kind of confidence is so valuable, especially in a field that's constantly pushing the boundaries. It lets you focus on what really matters, building great software, making a meaningful contribution, without getting bogged down by self-doubt or needing validation from others.
It's like they've reached a level of mastery where they can just focus on the craft itself, the joy of creating something new and solving problems.
Precisely. And here's another interesting thing Gregory brings up. As we get older, we often care less about what other people think.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
It's natural. We're less worried about fitting in or impressing others, and more focused on doing work we're proud of, living a life that's true to our values.
That authenticity is powerful, especially in a field that can be so competitive and image-driven.
It lets you bring your whole self to work, be genuine, be transparent, focus on what truly matters to you. And that's a beautiful thing to see no matter what your age is.
This has been such a great conversation. I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about aging as a programmer now.
Me too. And remember, whether you're making content for your YouTube channel or just thinking about your own career, aging isn't a decline, it's an evolution. It's a journey of growth, learning, adaptation.
It's about finding ways to use your experience. Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep making a difference in the field you love.
And ultimately, it's about finding joy and fulfillment in the work you do, no matter how long you've been doing it.
So to all the programmers out there, young and old, keep coding, keep learning, keep sharing your knowledge, keep embracing the journey. And hey, maybe you'll even inspire a few YouTube videos along the way.